Hello everyone, my name is Joe Chicherio. Welcome to GL Sports Chat. Today I'm honored to have Bill Howard and two of his varsity ball players. Bill and I go back quite a bit in regards to our coaching. I coached under Bill when I was a JV coach, actually a freshman coach here at Governor Livingston. And Bill and I love the sport. In fact, we like to sit down and just discuss situations, and sometimes we go out to breakfast and talk about the Yankees, right, Bill? Bill, this season, a brand new season for you this year. You had two really successful seasons, 2 years in a row. Now you come into a third season this year. What are your ideas and perspectives in, let's say, December and January, organizing the team and thinking about the club and what you have to do to organize practices, that kind of thing?
I was looking forward to this year for a long time because we lost a lot of players from last year. Four of the seniors who had great years went on and they're in college, and I think at least three of them are playing college baseball now. So I knew it would be a different year because I think I would have to do more coaching this year because I have younger players to a large extent. But I think it's going to be a good team, and I think we're going to be competitive. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I want to introduce, guys, I want you to introduce yourselves to our audience out here, please. Go ahead. Andrew.
Andrew Gropper. I pitch and I play outfield, and I've played varsity. This will be my second year. Unfortunately, I wasn't on the state championship team, but I'm looking forward to trying to get another one.
My name's Frank Cavallo. I'm an outfielder, and I'm a senior. This is my second year on varsity.
Guys, let me go back to Bill, a question something you said earlier. More coaching than this year than the previous years. What do you mean by that?
Well, last year, for instance, I had many players who had been with me for 3 years, so they knew the system real well. I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time working on mechanics, working on plays, working on different situations. So this year I have a lot of different players, new players that we need to start from square one with as far as learning pickoff systems and things of that nature.
So you pretty much go through the club or potential ball players during those months of January and February. You're looking at a roster possibly, throwing names around in your mind, right? Sure,
it changes. Like when I was thinking in November, December, after girls' soccer season ended, there are certain lineups that go through your mind, and I'd write things down all the time. And it's funny how it does change, though. I mean, certainly some players I was thinking about are no longer in the picture, or maybe we left them on JV, that kind of thing. So it changes, but I think that's just part of the game and part of the nature of it. This year we decided to just keep the younger guys down on JV right now, and to keep them as a unit, and hopefully have a real successful JV team down there, and then they'll be ready to make the move next year.
You know, that's so important. Sometimes players think that they're just going to automatically move into positions, but yet it takes a couple of years to develop at a lower level before they're able to move up onto a varsity level, right?
Right. You want them to experience success.
Right.
If I were to pull up 4 or 5 sophomores, and then the JV team has like a 5 and 17 year, they don't win much. I don't think that's good to come up to the varsity with a losing attitude. But if I keep them down there and they're able to make it to the finals of the county tournament and be very successful, then that would carry over next year for the next 2 years of their high school careers.
Yeah. Andrew.
Yes.
Pitching, huh? How many years have you been pitching? When did you start to pitch?
I've basically been pitching since, I started playing baseball back in like 2nd grade, really. So we've been playing with like the same group of people, and
for all those years.
Yeah, for all those years mostly, and that core is still basically together here up on varsity senior year in high school. So.
What about lessons? Do you go for any training on pitching at all?
Yeah, the last 2 winters I've been going to a place called the Ballpark and working out with a pitching coach, and it's really helped my mechanics a lot. And I mean, that helped my overall game as a pitcher. And then working with Coach Howard, I also learned to manipulate the count and that sort of, and the more the mental thing. So it's sort of all falling into line now, hopefully.
What made you decide to become that pitcher? Did you start out, and when you were playing Little League, did you start out as a pitcher, or did you start in the outfield or third base, or what?
Well, I mean, really in Little League, it's just sort of like everybody pitches, like everybody has a chance to pitch, and nobody really. And I played mostly outfield, and I had success there, but I also had success pitching, and it just sort of, as we grew older, I turned out to be one of the, I just had a natural ability to pitch better than some others. So.
Any favorite pitch that you like? Any particular?
One that strikes somebody out.
You want to strike someone out? It makes no difference what you throw. You just want to strike the guy out.
Yeah.
Frank, outfielder, center, right, left, or a little bit of everything?
Mainly right. That's where I played last year, and I think I'll be there again this year. I kind of like it because you have more of an opportunity to get assists from the outfield, like throwing people out. In right field, that's when most of the people will run.
What do you, when a batter comes up to bat, and you're seeing them from a distance, do you get any idea or how to play the batter, whether you're going to play more towards the gap or maybe more towards the line?
A lot of times, like as soon as someone swings, you can almost tell by looking at their hands and the way they hold the bat and stuff where they're more prone to hitting the ball. But when a guy first goes up, sometimes depending on if he's real open or real closed, you might have an idea of where he's going to hit, and you could play, according to that. Our coaches usually have a good idea of where we should be too, so they move us around.
What kind of communication do you have in the outfield, like with the center fielder or left fielder? Do you fellas communicate all the time, or with every batter, or depending on the situation?
We all sort of try and help each other out, like reminding each other what situation we have, where we should be throwing it. But when the ball's actually coming, the center fielder takes control, and he's the boss out there.
He's
He
the
lets
boss,
us
right.
he lets us know if he has it or what. And
Right.
communication's important, so we try and talk as much as we can.
Now, what happens, for instance, there's a runner on first and third, and there's a base hit or whatever? I mean, you're thinking about this ahead of time. You see the
Right.
runners on first and third. Who makes that decision in your mind before the batter gets up, where you're going to make that throw?
Well, you should know where you're going to go with it. Like for example, if you get a ground ball, the guy on third scoring, you're going to want to try and keep the runner on first off of third base. If you have a fly ball, you're thinking about the guy on third tagging, but then again, you have to hit the cutoff because the guy on first would be going to second. At the same time, if the ball's a little deep, there's no way you're getting the guy at home, and you go straight to second. So you sort of know the situation beforehand, and then depending on what you get.
On a fly ball, let's say, for instance, you're concentrating on the ball coming down. Does the center fielder at all talk to you, or an infielder yell in regards to where to throw the ball?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much everyone will try and help you out, let you know where to go, the coaches, teammates.
Andrew, the catcher, how
Yes.
important is the catcher to you?
Oh, the catcher is very important to me. I mean, generally, it was real nice because last year I came up and I had no varsity experience whatsoever, and I was just getting used to like my new mechanics and pitching at a much higher level than I was normally used to. And it was nice because I came up and I had Eric Canigallo catching for me, and he'd been catching for 3 years in the system, and he knew what it was, and he knew what to do with the ball, and like he really helped guide me through and like teach me what counts to throw what pitches, and
Right.
and then also having a guy who can bail you out, like if you make a bad pitch and walk somebody and then he throws him out stealing, and I mean there's a boost of getting a guy off the base paths and an extra out, but via a pickoff or like throwing him out stealing is just one of the greatest things a pitcher can have. So
Who calls the pickoff play? The coach? Does the catcher, or you signal the pickoff play, and then the catcher? Well, maybe I shouldn't give away any secrets here. Yeah.
I won't be too specific.
All right.
But Andrew's different because he's a lefty. So what we do is I was trying to mimic what I saw the Yankees did when Don Mattingly played, and he would just jockey the runner back and forth. He wouldn't hold the runner on. He would just play off of first base. So we tried that with Andrew. We tried it last year, and I thought it was very effective. So it does come from me because the first baseman has to know when Andrew's throwing over, because there are times where the first baseman might be confused by Andrew's move since he has a good lefty move. And he might be looking at home, the first baseman, and all of a sudden Andrew throws over there, and the first baseman gets hit in the head. So he has to know when the pitch is going over there. So yes, we do have a system for that.
What about, is there a difference in the system in regards to picking off at second or trying to get someone at third? Or do you pretty much, in a sense, stay away from that?
No, we go for any runners that we feel are just trying to challenge us with a big lead. It's, again, called by us. Although in years past I've had pitchers put the plays on themselves, and that's certainly an option as we go through the season. But right now we call them, the coaches call them. We have pickoffs for third. It's a dangerous pickoff, but if you practice it a lot, it's a very effective play.
You have to keep those runners close to the bags, or else, especially if it's a winning run at second base, you want to make sure that runner, or the tying run, maybe that runner doesn't score. Fellas, what about hitting here? You get to the cages a lot, or do you like outside, prefer outside hitting?
I guess in the off season over the winter, I try and get to the cage as much as I can. But as of now, through practice and stuff, we stay prepared.
Bunting. What about
From which
Bunty? You guys,
standpoint?
Andrew,
Offensive or defensive standpoint?
offensive standpoint. See, this is the guys I think, or I love him. Go on. Offensively, you want to go for the hit.
Well, I mean, generally, like you go for a hit when, but if you're in a situation for like a bunt and you can move somebody over or squeeze, or you really need a run in like one of the safest ways possible, and without, I mean, especially it works a lot better with like the harder throwing people and the people you've been having a tougher time hitting. Generally, bunting can be if you have a decent bunter up, you can have a better chance at moving a guy around the base path than if you had him just swinging away at everything. So.
I always think of Phil Rizzuto. He could put something down the line, I mean, and run like the wind, Guys, what's the projection for this season? Coach, what do you think?
My goal is always to be competitive,
Right.
which I know we will be. We always have been up here. We've been very successful the last 4 or 5 years in numbers of wins. I think we've been averaging about 20 wins for the last 5 years.
Wow.
We've made a lot of trips to the sectional finals. I would love for us to do that again. So that would be a goal. Another goal might be to give Immaculata and Basking Ridge a run for the money for the conference, 2 quality teams.
You open up with them next week, right?
Both of them, yeah.
Well, Coach, guys, good luck. One other thing I'd like to mention, I know I'm a very, very big baseball fan myself, and there are memorabilia that I've been collecting for over the years. One of the pictures, I don't know if you can focus in on this picture here, a tremendous ball player, Peter Gray. It was called the One-Armed Bandit, and he played for the St. Louis Browns in 1945. What's great about this guy, he played the outfield. And what he would do is he would catch the ball and then throw the ball into the air and then put his glove underneath his arm and then throw runners even out at home. There's a tremendous amount of respect that I have for this man simply because of the dedication that he had over the years and how difficult it was for a person with a handicap like this playing Major League ball. This is a Norman Rockwell, and it's called Father and Son. And it took me about 2 years to get the signatures on this. We have Whitey Ford here, Duke Snyder, and Yogi Berra. The Norman Rockwells are my favorites. I try to get them as often as possible. And again, it takes a long time to get signatures because I like to meet the players as they sign. So this way, I understand there's no forgery involved in regards to a signature. This is another one of my favorites. It's called The Catcher. And it took me about 3 years to get this one made because of some of the greatest catchers. I think they're all going to be Hall of Famers have signed this from Pudge Rodriguez here, Johnny Bench. Here we have Mike Piazza, Yogi Berra, the great Al Lopez here, and Carlton Fisk. In fact, this is a picture of Carlton Fisk. Al Lopez was interesting because at the time he signed this, he was in his 90s. He's still alive, and it was interesting because Al Lopez once caught Walter Johnson. So it was interesting to be able to meet someone that was able to catch one of the great pitchers of all times. And this here is one of my favorites. This is Yankee Stadium. And of course, you can't see at the very bottom, but the batter is number 7, it's Mickey Mantle, and he's hitting a home run. And I was fortunate enough to have Joe DiMaggio sign this for me. I asked Mr. DiMaggio to sign in center field, right above center field in the blue sky up here, because the players were looking up as they were looking at the ball, but it's as if they were looking up at Mr. DiMaggio's signature. So I was very, very happy that he was able to sign that for me. And also, I have a game worn. This is one of my favorite jerseys. I have a game worn Houston Astros jersey, the unit. Randy Johnson. I love him. I know Mr. Howard likes him too. He is so dedicated to the game, and he's so determined. His determination to win, I think, is something that is outstanding. This man is a Hall of Famer as well. Fellas, any particular teams that you like?
I'm a Yankee fan.
You're a Yankee fan?
Yep.
Particular players on the team at all?
Well, I was a big Don Mattingly fan, like Coach mentioned before, but now there's a lot of young guys that admire them all, actually.
Hall of Famer? You think Don is going to be a Hall of Famer?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know you pretty much, you don't have a favorite team, but there are different clubs that you like to watch. You like to watch baseball in general. Any favorite player that you enjoy watching?
Well, actually, like Randy Johnson's one of my personal favorites, just because of being a lefty, liking
Right.
to watch another very tall lefty guy
Right.
throw 105 miles an hour, or not even 100.
Right.
But watch him throw that hard. And
You should see him in person. He's an awesome sight, and he's a gentleman too. It's interesting. We see him on the mound. He's one way, and then you meet him in person and talk to him. The guy's just a gentleman. Coach, I know you are a big Yankee fan.
That's right.
And in your time, I want to ask you two questions. Growing up, who did you like?
Yankees. I've been a Yankee fan all my life.
Player.
What
What player did you like?
Growing up, I was in the era of towards the end of Mickey Mantle's career. One of my favorite players was Brooks Robinson for the Orioles.
Third
I was
base.
an infielder, and he was one of the greatest ever. Played for the Orioles. I love the Yankees today, though. I think they have a lot of class, a lot of men with great character, which I think is just a real tribute to Joe Torre and the whole organization.
I like the Yankees too, and I think knowing people from Boston, I think they had their Ted Williams. Ted was a tremendous ball player. In fact, he probably might have been one of the greatest ball players ever to play the game. Had a tremendous eye for the ball. But a lot of these ball players, the old-time ball players, they missed a lot of their professional career because they went into the service. Yogi Berra was involved with D-Day, for instance, and Ted Williams was a pilot. So you wonder where these men would have really gone, what records they would have broken if they didn't serve their country. But yet, if you ask these men about that, they pretty much would say it was an honor to serve their country, and that the years that they lost really doesn't mean that much to them, that they were able to serve their country and play the game as well. Fellas, I want to thank you very much for this little conversation today. Good luck this season. We'll be back later in the year. We'll sit down and we'll talk one more time about what you've gone through, and maybe by mid-season, and where you're going, where you've been, and we'll go from there. Fellas, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think one of my wishes in life, I don't know if this will ever happen to me, I would love to go out in Yankee Stadium. I would like to stand on the field, the Yankee Stadium, where Gehrig and Ruth and some of the great, Bill Dickey, Tony Lazzari, Rizzuto, some of the great Yankees were at. I think that's my fondest wish, but hopefully, I don't know if it'll ever come true. But before I die, I'd love to do that. Listen, thank you everyone for watching us today. This is Joe Cicero saying thank you for this time until next. Thank you.